Hey, what's up, guys? We're going live. Pulling up the Instagram feed here. How's everybody doing? Happy holidays. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you had a happy solstice. I originally wasn't going to be going live today. I had some family stuff planned, but family members are sick, flu season, all that. So had to change of plans, just hanging out with my partner Mariah today and doing some stuff. So wanted to share some things with you guys. A few days ago, the solstice, the 21st, we had a very powerful cosmological alignment, the Saturn Jupiter conjunction, and a lot of powerful energies blasting the planet. We kind of entered this new cycle of kind of an energetic cycle that's really enhanced, in our overall energy experience, raising the vibration of this planet, and just an acceleration of the transformation, which we've been going through for, many years now. So exciting time. I want to share a bit with you guys. So I did a personal retreat over the past week. I rented a cabin up in the mountains and basically completely cut myself off from technology. I was doing some deep work for 3 days. I was doing sort of this vision quest ceremony. And so it was really nice to, get out of society, get out into nature, and really go into some deep inner work, right? So I've been studying with a kind of a shamanic teacher, this woman I study with named Ashiana. She's been one of the most powerful teachers I've been studying with for almost 10 years now. And so she kind of guided me to create some different practices that I was doing, right? So my experience was, so of course I was disconnected from technology, no internet, no phone, no devices for 3 days, which was, awesome. Good to reset the dopamine receptors and, just go within, no excessive external stimulation. So I got up every morning, did an hour of meditation. I did an hour of Qigong. Then I'd have my breakfast and the real work began. I was doing 2 hours of meditation, have a little break, then I'd do another 2 hours of meditation and connecting with various practices, connecting, of course, with the energy of the solstice. I don't know if you guys were meditating during that alignment, but powerful, powerful energy. We're still in that like window of, just the incredible energies that are coming in. It's really an upgrade that's available to us right now, this new energy coming in. It's really good to connect with the sun every day. The sun's broadcasting all this information and, absorb that and use it to refine your own practice. So today I'm just kind of, sharing my experience with the solstice, this retreat I did. Just kind of going to be kind of a rant today. Of course, I'll answer questions as always if you guys have any. So feel free to send in questions. But so anyways, doing 3 days of pretty intense meditation work was really amazing. Really had some upgrades in my own personal practice. What I'm working on personally, of course, my sexual kung fu practice, but I've been really focused in specifically internal arts practices, Tai Chi, Xingyi, and Qigong in general. So just energy cultivation and also internal alchemical meditation practices. I've been studying Taoist internal alchemy for many years now. And the idea of this Taoist alchemical practice is that you combine these natural elements, specifically water and fire, right? There's this interaction that happens between water and fire. One is yin, one is yang. When you couple them together, these polarities neutralize each other and they create yuan qi, which is neutral force, right? And this is also what's happening during sex. For example, it's a coupling of polarities. Yin and yang meet, male and female, or whatever it is. There's always a polarity in sexual attraction. And that generates neutral force, yuan qi. But you can also do this within yourself through these Taoist alchemical practices. And there's different levels of it, right? I studied this with Michael Wynn and some other teachers. It's known as Kan and Li, where you're coupling this, Kan and Li is water and fire. So you're coupling this internal male-female energy. The first level, the lesser coupling of Kan and Li, you're just working with your own internal male-female energies. The next level, you're working with sun and moon energies and also the elemental directions of the earth. So I was doing a lot of this practice over the solstice. And then there's higher levels in this. The next level is greatest kananli, where you're coupling, you're working with the planetary energies, right? The Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars. You're working with the higher elements, these planets, which really hold these archetypal patterns for our human nature. And then there's star alchemy, where you're connecting with these much more ethereal energies. You're working up in the upper dantian, the pineal gland, collecting these star quadrant energies from all the directions. So really, really powerful work. So this is what I was doing for 5, 6 hours a day for 3 days straight, and 3 days straight. And I was like levitating. I had so much energy. I haven't been sleeping much the past few nights. I've just been like supercharged. Again, that solstice energy was so powerful. I was meditating with that, kind of bringing that into my body, digesting that, and just been supercharged. So I hope you guys are, enjoying yourselves out there, having a happy holiday season. Uh, it's a great time to be meditating. It's a great time to be doing internal energy cultivation and building your chi, connecting with the elements, staying harmonized, staying balanced, because there's a lot of changes happening on the planet. And of course, there's a lot of agendas being placed, being put upon us, big tech, big technology companies, social media accounts, these social media companies that are, kind of dominating the information that's coming into us. Of course, I'm here streaming on Instagram and YouTube, so it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? But just important to understand that it's good to kind of step back from all the information that's just hammering with us, being hammered into us from the news and all this, nonsense, all this fear stuff. Step back away, be a little bit more objective, and be like, okay, what's actually happening in the world around me? And things really aren't, the dark rabbit hole of fear that a lot of people are stuck in right now. It doesn't have to be that way, right? This can be a very powerful and enjoyable time. And anyways, I know I'm just kind of rambling today, but one really big kind of download I got, and this is something I've been, it's been coming through for me a lot in the past few years, but it's just this concept of creating heaven on earth, right? I've studied many spiritual paths. I've been through many different, paths of spiritual traditions, different things. And I feel like in the past, I was really trying to like get off this planet, get out of this, oh, we're here in the third dimension. This is just this horrible place where, it's hell on earth, right? We need to get out of here. A lot of spiritual traditions kind of have this focus too, of like, you need to transcend, get out of the physical, because this is it's just pain and suffering here. There's nothing good here. You need to get out of your body and get to heaven, right? And I kind of had this mentality in my early on practice when I was doing like Kundalini yoga, really trying to like blast out of my body. But it's like heaven and earth is a polarity, right? We have this horizontal polarity of like male, female, the 5 elements in Taoist practice, which is just these cycles of polarity, which are really creating all the change that we're experiencing in our life. It's a constant dance between yin and yang, cycles of change, night and day, years, months, these different perceptions of time that we experience, which is really is an illusion. These things are spherical, they're cyclical in nature. Where am I going with this? So yeah, there's that horizontal polarity, but there's also a vertical polarity, right? And this is the heaven-earth dynamic. And this is often where we have, some deep wounds. And what I really resonate with Taoist practices about is because you're not trying to transcend, you need to get out of your body, get out of, this third dimension and get to heaven, right? It's not about, kind of cursing the physical realm, trying to escape to the spiritual realm, because you have to think, what was the point of coming here in the first place? What was the point of incarnating into a physical body, having this human experience, if it was just to get back to heaven? It doesn't make sense, right? So ultimately what I'm finding is that what I believe is part of the purpose for being here is to create this heaven on earth, right? How do we do that? It's like, how do you bring all of that amazing, celestial, joyous, blissful energy from the heavenly realms and anchor that on earth, right? That's what really makes life worth living, right? So creating joy in your life, creating inspiration, living in bliss and pleasure, but not like the type of pleasure where it's kind of an escapism, like you're playing video games all day, you're smoking weed, you're getting drunk, you're taking drugs, just trying to distract yourself. But I mean like fully embodied, holistic, like you're creating amazing things in your life. You're creating art. You're creating art in your relationships. You're creating art in your business. You're changing the world around you and making this world a better place. And I think that's really what this cycle that we're in right now is about. Again, creating heaven on earth, using our sexual energy, using our vital energy of our bodies, our minds, our souls to create a life that's joyous, that's abundant and worth living. And it really comes down to each of us to do this. We can't rely on our governments, our politicians, our, all these big tech companies to do this for us. They're not doing this for us. They're trying to prey off of, our energies, right? So it's up to us to create our own reality. It's up to us to create our own joy, our own bliss, and our own pleasure. And it really comes down to you doing the inner work, me doing inner work. First of all, looking within and say, okay, I was, conditioned with all these patterns. I have these certain ways I react to situations. I blame other people. I get angry at other people. But, maybe some of these things are reflective of what's happening within me. So how do you clear out these traumas, clear out negative emotions, all these, patterns that really aren't serving you that maybe your ancestors have been handing down, father to son, mother to daughter for hundreds and thousands of years, right? And it's up to us right now to bring these negative patterns to an end, right? And that's how we're really going to uh, change the world, because let's face it, things need to change. And all of this kind of chaos and powerful transformation that's been occurring, this year is, I think, really just forcing us to look at the fact that things just aren't working the way we've been doing them here on planet Earth. You know what I mean? It's time to change. It's time to live in harmony, first of all, with ourselves, with our own thoughts, our own actions, but obviously live in harmony with each other, live in harmony with our environment, our Earth, and have fun. Let's make some cool music. Let's make some cool art. Let's move our bodies in a way that feels good. Let's get some positive energy flowing and leave behind all this fear porn, all this social conditioning, all this like in literally a slave system, Babylonian money magic, all this fear porn coming to us from our mainstream news, which you have to realize news isn't really news. These are corporations. They have CEOs. They have people running them. They have an agenda. They're making money, right? So you can't really trust the information that's coming from them. So what I'm really trying to say is this is a time for you to find your own truth and think to yourself, what do you want in your life? And how are you going to go about creating that, right? So this is a major transformational time. And again, meditate, eat clean, stay grounded, spend time in nature, turn off CNN for God's sake, and get some sun if you can. You can connect to the sun every day, consciously absorb the sunlight into your body. There's all this information. The sun's changing. The light of the sun is different now than it has been in the past. There's all this energy coming in, this new photons as we enter into this ion belt in the solar, in the really the galaxy that we're in. It's just a very, very powerful time. So I don't know what else to say, guys. It's it's been a powerful week for me, and I'm enjoying it. So I'm going to answer some questions now. Anyone else feeling that powerful solstice energy, meditating during that alignment? Incredible energy coming in. First, I want to mention, guys, I'm doing a free training next week. I believe it's Wednesday. My male sexual mastery secrets training. I'm going to be sharing how to master your sexual energy as a man, how to overcome premature ejaculation, how to get rid of your porn addiction, how you can have non-ejaculatory orgasms and last for hours in bed. I'm going to be sharing a lot of really, really powerful information. You don't want to miss this training. It's totally free. You can sign up on YouTube. There's a link in this video. On Instagram, just go to the link in my bio, male sexual mastery training. That's next week. So definitely want to be there. All right, I'm going to answer some questions here. Am I here to advise men to masturbate? No, I'm here to help men cultivate their sexual energy in a harmonious way. And that certainly can involve masturbating in a way that you learn to no longer be addicted to ejaculatory orgasms, peak orgasm gratification, but instead learn to cultivate your sexual energy in a way that you gain energy from it, move it through your body, harmonizing your organs, your brain, your vital energies with that amplification of the sexual energy. So masturbation can be a part of it, but it's not really about that. Okay, my opinion on intermittent fasting. I was doing intermittent fasting for about a year, and it can be extremely beneficial. But for me right now, it's more ideal to have a higher window of time where I'm eating, because for me, food is very grounding. And when I'm doing 3 hours of energy work every day, I'm running some pretty high voltage current through my body. And if I'm going long periods of time without eating, I tend to get a bit ungrounded, kind of like fry myself a bit. So I like to I was doing the only eating during a 6 to 8 hour window, but I'm, spreading that a bit. So it can be beneficial, but, you have to be careful of these kind of diet trends and things like that. Really listen to your body and you'll be fine. Thoughts on sun gazing. Sun gazing is amazing. I highly recommend this practice. So sun gazing is And the first about 30 minutes of sunrise when the sun first comes up, and the last 30 minutes of sunset when the sun's going down, uh, the sun, i- the light of the sun is less intense. You can actually look straight into the sun, and there's a lot of benefits to this. Of course, as I was talking about, absorbing the energy of the sun, getting all that powerful information the sun's radiating. Um, it also helps to decalcify your pineal gland, helps to activate your body. I've heard theories that it actually ozonates your blood. Ozone is it's three oxygen molecules bound together, I believe, and it kills bacteria, kills viruses. You move it through your body. By sun gazing, I heard a theory that it actually generates this natural ozone. So basically, there's a lot of benefits to sun gazing. There's a guy in India. I was hearing about this guy who he's breatharian. He hasn't eaten any food in decades, apparently. He just basically eats the energy of the sun, because when you think about it, what is our food coming from? Maybe we eat animals, which eat plants. Mostly it comes down to plants who get their energy from sunlight, moonlight and starlight, a little bit of earth chi, the soil, a little bit of water chi from the water. But plants are alchemists. They're mixing, again, fire from the heavens, that sunlight with the earth energy from the soil with the water, and they are completely sustaining themselves on that. So theoretically, we could do the same, right? But so yeah, basically, sun gazing is a very powerful exercise. I do it every day when I can, and I recommend it. No, I have not read that. No, I have not read Mystique of Enlightenment. Is chakra healing the same thing as cultivating the three dantians? Not necessarily. You can be working with chakras without working with the dantians. There is a relationship between the dantians and the chakras, but dantian work requires, really chakra work too, but like it requires a really deep inner focus. To cultivate the lower dantian, you have to sink into it. You can't really force it. There's these different methods of like kind of the more yang fire systems of like trying to pack and force chi into the dantian, but typically because there's no yin chi to hold that in a container, that magnetic power of the yin chi, it tends to dissipate when you're doing forceful practices. So the best way to build the dantian is by sinking, relaxing the mind down slowly into the dantian and just holding your awareness there. Of course, I teach another dantian building practice on my YouTube channel, which is powerful. But working with the chakras isn't necessarily working with your dantians. It can be, but usually there's different methods for these doing these things separately. Do I believe in enlightenment? Yeah, I believe in enlightenment, but it's important to understand that enlightenment can often just be from the head, right? There's a huge difference between having an understanding. So you understand, oh yes, I understand that, everything is connected. We all come from one consciousness that split itself into fragments, and we're kind of objectively observing ourselves through these polarized bodies. It's one thing to understand that, but at the same time, you're like, but my life's a mess. I can't keep relationships together. I don't have any money. I'm depressed. I'm broke. But I understand that everything is connected, right? So there's a difference between understanding it on a mental level, which is often what people refer to as enlightenment. There's a difference between that and actually embodying it. And this is the Taoist concept of immortality. Enlightenment's often restricted to your head, but immortality is like you resonate with every cell of your being. Not only do you have this mental understanding, but you're living it. You have the method, the technique to be at one with the universe, to keep your energy in balance and flowing, and potentially even to crystallize the essence of your body, your vital energy, to a point that it keeps on. Basically, you keep living after death, supposedly, right? Where you have this immortal embryo body that the Taoists talk about, right? So that's kind of my take on it. So in enlightenment, again, it's often you're kind of stuck in this head trip where it's like, yes, I understand, and I think about these things, and it's it's fun to think about, but you're not necessarily living it, right? And I think that's really the key: is how do you ground that in your body? How do you crystallize that and create? How long have I been on my spiritual journey? I mean, in some ways, I would say my entire life. I was always kind of drawn to mystical things, and when I was as a child, I was just like, there's the world is not what we're being told. In some way, I had that understanding, but of course, I kind of fell into a deep sleep in my teenage years as the stresses and the limited conditioning of society was brought upon me. But it was when I was 19 years old, I had a Kundalini awakening, completely changed the course of my life, and that's really what brought me into spirituality. So I would say 12 years of like really on the spiritual path. Top three tips to fight anxiety and depression: turn off the news. Stay away from all the fear porn. That's you know important right now. Spend time in nature. Go walk in the forest, go walk in the mountains, put your feet in the water. Nature is the ultimate healer. When we're in resonance with nature, we feel good. An hour in nature has been scientifically shown to raise your intelligence, boost your memory, your mood, your creativity. So, and then the third one I would say is regulate your breathing. Your breath patterns are directly connected to your emotional and your mental state. Your physical, your mental, emotional, spiritual bodies are all connected, right? So when you start to go into anxiety, go into depression, whatever, anxiety, you're projecting into the future. You're like, oh, I think this thing's going to happen, and you're disconnected from your body, you're disconnected from the present moment, and often you get into these shallow breathing patterns. You're breathing from your chest, you're tense in your belly, you're literally uprooting yourself, you're lifting up your center of gravity. Someone pushes you slightly, you fall over, you're uprooted. So deep, relaxed belly breathing is one of the easiest ways to shift your mental state, get into that parasympathetic nervous system, get grounded here in the moment, and release anxiety, release depression. So my top three tips for fighting anxiety and depression: don't watch mainstream news, spend time in nature, and do slow conscious breath work. Bam. Aliens are about to be revealed in 2021. Who knows? The Pentagon said that they have off-world craft in the basement over there. They've been releasing all this interesting stuff, so we'll see. Blue Vala syndrome. I haven't heard of that. Oh, blue balls syndrome. Yeah, this is a very real thing. Blue balls is, as a man, you're very aroused, but you're building up so much arousal and not relieving it in some way that it causes constriction in your genitals, and that manifests as pain, right? Obviously, in semen retention, this can be a common occurrence because all this energy is congested in your balls. The cure for this is to circulate the energy out of the sexual center, microcosmic orbit. Once I really learned how to do this, I never experienced blue balls, even after having hours of non-ejaculatory sex. Another important thing is to keep the pelvic floor relaxed. You'll notice during sexual stimulation, if you're really tense in your pelvic floor, like you're squeezing it a lot, it increases blue balls because that tension causes a constriction in the genitals. So keep your pelvic floor relaxed. Testicle massage, things like that will really help. Am I gay? No, I am not gay. I'm attracted to women. So I'm not sure how to Al-Zahri. I don't think I see your question. Maybe you retype it. What are my thoughts about yoga? I think yoga is an excellent practice. I do yoga. I've been doing yoga every day for almost 10 years now. And it's a fantastic practice, but it can be limited. Usually, when we're talking about yoga, we're talking about asana, one specific, limb of yoga practice, right? Because it's more than just, stretchy postures. Asana practice in the mainstream world has been kind of removed, from its deeper roots, like a lot of the esoteric practices, and it's kind of turned into like a fitness regimen where you're just stretching your body, which is great. Again, I do yoga asana practice because it keeps my joints open. It's good for my circulation. It prevents like stiffness in my body and things like that. So it's mostly a physical practice, and you can only get so deep in the energetics with it, depending what your yoga practice is. But in general, it's a great practice, and I highly recommend it. My foundation in yoga set really powerful like discipline and like having that practice that really carried over when I started practicing qigong and tai chi and all these internal energy arts. So highly recommend yoga. But if you do like yoga and qigong together, then it's like it's you got it. What do I do for my hair? Not much. I make my own kind of pomade type product. I mix beeswax with coconut oil and bentonite clay and some essential oils. I melt that together and made my own hair product because most things you buy have a lot of toxic products in them. How long do I meditate for per day? Usually I meditate about an hour a day. Am I religious? If so, how does your religion influence your daily life practices? I would say I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. There can be a big difference there. Religion, you often get into these dogmatic principles and you're just kind of going on faith versus like direct experience. Spirituality is like you're forming a direct connection with the life force, with the universe, and it's like, okay, I don't need this other person to tell me what, my connection to universe, to God, whatever it is, right? It's how do you create that for yourself? Because we all have this potential to connect with source. It's just about cultivating that. And so, yeah, that's definitely part of my daily practice. Smoothie break. Get my protein. Yesterday, I started my 1-year semen retention journey. I want to master it. I think your channel is going to help me on that topic. Awesome. Wishing you the best. Just important to understand that semen retention is all about staying balanced. If your only focal point is I need to go 1 year without ejaculating no matter what, you can tend to run into some really rigid things. The key is you want to keep your energy flowing, not be too obsessive about it. Be like, okay, I just, how do I keep, instead of like your primal your only focus being how do I keep the semen in my body? Instead of that, it's like, okay, how do I build more sexual energy, keep it balanced, keep it circulating, stay happy, healthy, and harmonious, and enjoy life, without becoming like a religious fanatic about it, right? That's kind of my approach now, is like not so much obsessing over how long you're going, but overall, building your energy, cultivating your energy, and having the intention of recycling that sexual energy and only using it for the best purposes. Do you think you absorb dark and dense energy while watching porn? Whenever I watch porn, I feel like my pelvis is heavier energetically, and I need to do visualizations to remove it. Yeah, you connect some pretty dark stuff, some pretty nasty energies when you watch porn, because I've talked about this in several of my videos, but on the most superficial level, it wrecks your dopamine receptors, physiologically messes up your body. But on a more energetic, esoteric level, you're bonding to some pretty nasty entities, which are really driving this, porn industry, human trafficking, some of the really nasty stuff that's going on all over the world that, a lot of people are unaware of. So when you look at porn, you're getting to the state of arousal that opens you up. You become very open when you're sexually aroused, especially when you're like looking at an image of someone and you're like, oh yeah, like I want to connect with that. So you're sending out these cords, these energetic tendrils. The question is, where is that going? It's going into the astral entities that are feeding off of, all this sexual energy that, millions of men around the world masturbating over Pornhub every day. Who's feeding off all this gene? There's these nasty entities that are absorbing that. You become glued to them because your sexual energy is a glue. It bonds you to things, it amplifies. And so that's what you're connecting with when you're watching porn. So that's why you feel so off. Once I started doing like internal energy practices, really built my sensitivity, I was like watching porn. I was like, I just feel like nasty for like days after watching porn. I guess I shouldn't do that anymore. So it was like effortless for me to just stop doing it. So it's a huge rabbit hole, the internet sex beast, the porn kind of astral entities on the planet, but it is what it is. Do I take cold showers? I used to take cold showers, like only take cold showers, but what I realized was that, like, obviously in the wintertime, especially doing internal energy practices, you need to keep your kidneys warm, especially when you're trying to build your dantian. The cold can kind of dissipate some of that energy. So I stopped taking cold showers during the winter and found that that was good for my overall building my dantian, building my gene, because again, the cold can kind of drain that from your body. There is a lot of benefits, the Wim Hof method, but it can also deplete your yang qi basically. So you have to be careful with that. UK, yeah, it's okay. Okay, so here's someone from the UK. I have to ask you: Is it? I heard a rumor that they were completely banning all porn sites in. I don't know if it was just the UK or Europe in general, but I'm curious to know if that's true or not. How do I improve my brain to be more connected to a good erection as I fail to have a good erection while preparing for sex? Um, your brain's only going to be one aspect of it. This is physiological as well. So basically, erections in general, improving your erection, there's many factors to it. Stress and lack of sleep are the number one destroyers of erections and sexual vitality in general. So make sure you're reducing stress in your life and getting plenty of sleep. Nothing else matters. If you're not getting enough sleep at night, it doesn't matter what your diet's like, what your exercise is like. Your body can't, replenish itself without proper sleep. That's the number one most important thing for your health and your vitality is getting enough sleep. Diet is very important. Getting enough, minerals in your diet, selenium, zinc, magnesium, and boron are essential minerals for male sexual health. And our soil on the planet is becoming very depleted of these minerals. So it's good to supplement these things, right? Again, zinc, magnesium, boron, and zinc, magnesium, selenium, and boron, essential for that. On another level, dopamine receptors play a part in healthy erections. This is why, there's what's called porn-induced erectile dysfunction. Your brain gets used to requiring excessive amounts of stimulation, like going from video to video to maintain a normal level of arousal. And without that, when you're with a real partner, it's just not as stimulating. You can't get an erection because your dopamine's out of whack. You need healthy dopamine levels to get erections. There's a connection there. Also, what's very helpful, so if you're doing those things, and still not achieving quality erections, it can be like stage fright, performance anxiety, you're nervous about having an erection. That's often enough for a man to kill his erections, like worrying, am I going to be able to get it up? It puts you in that like fight or flight. You're in your head and you're disconnected from your body. So being able to ground, relax, feel confident is important for healthy erections. There's a method, I'm talking about this like every live video I do, the Angion method, Angion. Incredible exercises for basically developing the blood vessels in your penis so you can significantly improve your erections. I started this practice in August. I'm seeing phenomenal results with it. Like I had pretty good erections before, but they're like high quality erections now. So I highly recommend this method. So hope that helps you out. I used your methods with no ejaculation, Qigong combined with Wim Hof breathing and cold exposure, and my energy levels are crazy and I have visuals, music, everyday things are intense and loud. Awesome. Yeah, when you cultivate your energy, you do all these practices, you feel high naturally 24/7. I want to share something here. So I'm, obviously I have I'm into Qigong, these internal energy practices, but I just hit an upgrade in my personal practice over really the past week. It was really during the, my intense retreat in the Solstice where I was doing like 2-3 hours of Qigong a day, 5 hours of meditation. Like I was full on, right? And I've been working with system, I'm really studying Tai Chi and Xing Yi Chuan, which is it's an internal martial art. It looks like boxing, but you're completely relaxed and it's really like you're blasting chi through your body. It's incredible. I teach this stuff in my Immortal Energy Arts online academy, but I'm working with what one of my teachers calls Anjing, which is this kind of hidden energy. They talk about this in Xing Yi classic writings. And it's like this wash of watery energy throughout your body. So I'm just standing in just a normal Qigong kind of Wu-Ji posture and moving my awareness through my body, trying to create these waves of Qi, which, I feel all the time, but it's like, it went up to another octave. It was like, it was almost like an orgasm, where it's just like this like wave of like boom, boom through my body. You're just like, oh, this feels like awesome. It was pretty cool. So being able to like control that. That's why I love qigong and tai chi so much. You basically, there's all this talk about, yeah, it loosens up your joints, improves your circulation, and oxygenates you. And it's like, that's great, but the real energy cultivation gets you super high. Okay, let's be real. It gets you into this full body high where it feels like when you really get the chi moving. And what I've understand is that most people teaching this stuff never even get to the levels of like really feeling their chi, because it becomes like almost unbelievably powerful sensations. Not just like this, the first thing you feel is like a little buzzing in the hands. You're like, woo, that was wow, I'm powerful, right? But that's like, it's like raindrops compared to a tsunami. It's the same force, but the power becomes so much more massive, because when you get the full body activation, which I've been getting into, it's phenomenal. It's like this hot, viscous, electrical, hydraulic fluid moving from your feet. It moves up from your legs into your dantian, the belly center, moves up the spine, through the brain, hits through the niwan, the center of the brain, comes through the forehead, radiates down into the armpit center, the yuan yi point, through the arms, fills your hands. It's just absolutely powerful. So again, this is what I'm teaching in my moral energy school. But anyways, it's kind of a rant there. Where did that even come from? Yeah, energy cultivation is awesome. This is what gets me high. I do my qigong. I cultivate my chi, and I feel phenomenal. I have tons of energy. So that's where it's at for me. How do you find the balance in masculine and feminine energies? I am male and a little off. I think this is a great question. I think this is a very extremely important thing for us to realize, because we're excessively polarized right now in our society in general. It's like you have to be either, the stereotypical alpha macho male, where you're just like overly, aggressive in all situations, or you're like the weak, vulnerable feminine, like over emotional, over reactive, things like that. That's kind of like, it's like you can either be one or the other. But in reality, we all have these varying elements of yin and yang within us. We all have male and female within us. And it's about balancing these things. This is what, most Eastern arts are based on, is this balance, really this internal yin yang balance. So Chinese medicine's about is, if you have too much yang, you're too aggressive, you're too forceful in your life, you burn out your water element, you burn out your kidneys, which are cooling you down. It's like there's a kidney heart relationship in Chinese medicine, water and fire. And if your kidneys, which are again related to your sexual vitality, if you tax your kidney energy, then they can't it's like your coolant system basically, right? And this often manifests as heart issues. What's the most common cause of death for men in the US? Is heart attacks, heart failure, heart disease, right? This is an excess yang condition. So we're burning ourselves out trying to overaccomplish, or we're too yin, too passive. We get stuck, and you have like depression, these yin type of things, right? So balance is essential. Whenever you're trying to force anything, like you're like, no, I have to be alpha male, I have to be aggressive and tough in every situation, even when I'm exhausted and burned out, by nature, nothing that's forced can be sustained, right? So this is really the Taoist concept of Wu Wei, is like effortless doing without doing. You do what's natural for you, right? And what comes of inspiration, what feels exciting for you in that moment. So, obviously, yes, it's important to be connected to your masculinity, to have that drive, that creativity, that kind of, dominant nature in a certain sort of way. But when you go too far with it, when you never can take a break, yang and yin are always transforming into each other, right? Yang expands to its maximum, it has to stop. It runs out of steam, and it has to start contracting back to yin. This is the cycle, day and night, we need to sleep at night. We all go to this gate of darkness, the yin, when we sleep every night. It recharges us. So it's kind of a long-winded answer, but basically it's like you have to really look at, how do I balance my own male and female aspects within myself? Because this is the key to really, obviously, balance, also happiness, success in your life. Because again, if you're too young, you're forcing everything, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to burn out your adrenals. If you're too yin, you're too passive, you're too overly emotional, you're complaining all the time, and you're projecting things on people, then you're going to kind of freeze, get stuck and frozen in your life. So it's like, how do you balance your male female aspect? What does that look like for you? I don't know. For me, my male female balance is, I'm very obviously I'm putting myself out in the world. That's kind of like my masculine yang is like I'm sharing sexual kung fu. I'm putting together these courses. I'm making these videos. I'm creating content. I'm like really putting stuff out there in the world, and in my relationship, I'm the man in the relationship. So I'm kind of providing for my partner and, holding that yang space, holding that protective, strong element of the yang. But my yin side is about, at the end of the day, being able to let everything go and just relax, nourish myself. I like to play music, right? I like to lay under the tree and watch the clouds. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you navigate between these masculine and these feminine aspects of yourself? When you get completely stuck in one, you're going to have, an imbalance that can manifest as a disease, quite frankly, right? So it's all about balance, basically. Long-winded answer, but I think it's a very important topic. Have I ever had an energy cultivation experience that has gotten too intense, too powerful that I had to stop? Oh yeah, for sure. When I was doing Kundalini yoga, I was having these like crazy, kind of like Kundalini syndrome type things, but I think it was really just an excess yang chi where it was like, I'd be doing my Kundalini yoga practice, you're doing all these kriyas, you're breath of fire, forceful, driving the chi up the spine. I got to blast out off my crown. There was nights where I would go to bed, but like my heart's just pounding, like my energy's up in my head, and I'm like kind of feeling like I'm just in another dimension, but not like a really pleasant space. It's hard to explain. Just like kind of like taking, being on a bad acid trip, but having not taken any drugs, right? It's just like weird stuff, right? That's kind of why I stopped Kundalini yoga. It was just very ungrounding for me. So I've definitely, or also when I was practicing Iron Shirt Qigong, which Montauk Chia teaches, the packing breath where you're like packing chi into your dantian, packing into your organs. I did that for like a year, but then it started like overheating me. Like, you're doing this forceful reverse breathing, packing chi into your organs. And like, it felt like I started feeling like I was on cocaine again. Like my heart was like pounding. I couldn't sleep, insomnia, excess yang. So yeah, I've overdone it for sure. So that's why I really gravitate to the more like, the more effortless, the more grounded kind of yin practices, the water path, we could say, right? Because most of us have too much fire in our lives right now in this modern world. Any tips for, okay, better deep sleep? So getting higher quality sleep, actually try to completely eliminate looking at electronic screens. I would recommend at least 2 hours before going to bed. For me, it's more like 3 hours. If I'm on a screen within like 3 hours of going to bed, it really affects my sleep. That's really important because when you look at blue light and the sun goes down, naturally the brain starts releasing melatonin, the sleep hormone. But when you're looking at screens, the brain says, oh, it's still light out. So we're going to suppress melatonin. We're going to secrete some cortisol, right? That stimulates you. So that totally messes with your sleep patterns. In general, you want to avoid stimulating things, within a couple of hours going to sleep. Doing a little like meditation, having some kind of like nightly routine to kind of relax. For me, it's doing like yoga. I do a little like gentle yoga, just stretching out my body. I do like a foot massage, like with a tennis ball that helps kind of ground, bring your energy into your feet. Maybe like some deep breathing practices and progressive relaxation exercises can really help, just like being able to shut your mind down. Like, okay, my day's done. There's nothing else I need to think about or accomplish. Sleep is next, that's great. Also avoiding like large meals before going to sleep, or else your digestion's going, your small intestine, that's fire element, and it's going to cause all this rising chi into your head if you're like digesting when you're trying to sleep. I'm on semen retention week 2 as of today. What do I expect as I go long in this retention? Well, retention is going to, overall it can boost your energy, confidence, your motivation, your aura just, you know, builds this chi, this sexual energy that just magnetizes your aura. And it's important to keep that balance. So I don't recommend anyone doing semen retention unless you're doing practices to circulate the sexual energy. So working with microcosmic orbit, testicle breathing practice. I have these guided practices on my YouTube channel. Microcosmic orbit, testicle breathing. These are essential if you're doing semen retention. Otherwise, you can run into stagnance. You feel irritable. You feel like sexually frustrated. So it's all about not bringing things to a stop, right? Again, I say this all the time, but like semen retention, you often get in this mentality of like, okay, stop ejaculating, hold this energy in. That thought form becomes a major contraction. Before you know it, your sexual energy is stuck. You're an angry maniac, right? So keep it flowing. Keep the sexual energy flowing in your body. You're not flowing it out of your genitals anymore. You're flowing it upward throughout your body, moving it into, the brain, the organs, moving it through the orbit. Externally, it's pouring into your art, into your whatever you're doing in the world, right? So, having an intention and a purpose for building up that energy. Otherwise, you just build up all this energy and you're not doing anything with it. It can drive you crazy. So I think intention is very important on semen retention and balance, of course. I masturbated from 12 to 22 almost every day, and now I know all this stuff, but I want to quit and cultivate my sexual energy. But what is the cost I leave behind me? Less lifespan because I ejaculated so many times, or brain not fully grown. Well, okay, I was, pretty much in the same boat. I discovered masturbation at the age of 13. I actually had non-ejaculatory orgasms for the first year I was masturbating. I'm not sure if I was just naturally multi-orgasmic at that time or if I just wasn't quite producing semen yet. I'm not sure. But so from the age of like 14 to like 24, I was ejaculating pretty much every day. And it took me a couple of years, maybe 2 to 3 years to really build my gene back up. But I feel fantastic now. So don't worry. You can, you're 22, you're still young. Like imagine if you were ejaculating every day till you're 60, then you'd have some real problems, right? So you're fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so the two essential practices for semen retention, I do have guided videos of these on my YouTube channel. Number one, microcosmic orbit. I have many different methods of working with this. This is basically the main energy channels in the body, starting at the perineum, flowing up the back, coming down the front of the body. And the second one's testicle breathing. I have a guided video of that on YouTube. So that's it. Do you flex your pelvic floor muscles in order to induce non-ejaculatory orgasms? In general, no, that's not the method I use. I've done that method occasionally. It's basically just having a kind of a weak peak orgasm in your genitals. You hit the point of no return. You squeeze so that you have the spasming in the prostate, but no fluid comes out. I don't really like this technique very much because, yeah, you have that weak orgasm, but again, it's a peak orgasm. It's a very fleeting experience, and it's not really what I'm into. The non-ejaculatory orgasms I'm talking about mostly are more energetic orgasms, full body orgasm. This is a much more intense experience eventually than the ejaculatory orgasm. It's like this pulsation that begins in your belly, moves up. It's kind of like when you have that feeling of excitement or butterflies in your stomach. It kind of feels like that, but obviously a very orgasmic quality to it. And it builds and it builds and it builds. Varying intensity. It's going to be very subtle in the beginning, but it eventually builds. So that's mostly what I'm talking about. And flexing pelvic floor muscles is not necessary for that. In fact, complete relaxation is often better. The course that's going to be held, yeah. So my 6-week course, Multi-Orgasmic Man, is opening soon. I'll be announcing that. But this is a pretty phenomenal course that I wish I had had when I was learning this stuff, because it would have saved me years and years, right? So basically, I took everything I learned studying, a decade of internal energy practices, tantra, sexual kung fu, qigong, breath work, meditation, yoga. I distilled it into a 6-week course that's a complete guide for a man to basically master circulating sexual energy, mastering moving sexual energy throughout the body, lasting longer in bed, building sexual potency, being able to practice semen retention in a sustainable way. We're not just a sexually frustrated maniac. Have non-ejaculatory orgasms, full body orgasms, how to exchange your sexual energy consciously with your partner. And I go through it in steps of foundation, right? The first few weeks, it's preparation work. This is what most people skip when they're teaching this stuff. They just go directly to like, okay, this is how you do the sexual practices. But if you don't clear your negative emotions, if you don't clear the traumas in your body, the tension patterns, if you don't first create a new pathway to express sexual energy in, then once you go directly to arouse sexual work, it's going to be overwhelming because you have such strong sexual habits built in. So this work is extremely important. And it's when I started doing it that my progress skyrocketed, right? So that's my 6-week course. It'll be opening up soon. I'll be announcing that. Are you planning to have a face-to-face training meeting yet after COVID? Yeah. So I'm definitely wanting to do some in-person retreats. I was thinking about doing, trying to do one with a friend in March in Asheville, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Things are still pretty weird around the world. So once all this political nonsense plays through, I'm definitely going to be doing more in-person stuff, because I want to meet you guys face to face, do this work, because going to retreats, studying this work in person, for me, it was the most life-changing experiences. So I definitely want to put that together. How do you deal with morning woods? They've been super intense. So yeah, when you build up your sexual energy, you're gonna have strong morning erections, which is a good sign. It's a sign of high testosterone. It's a sign of sexual virility. So it's a good sign, but they can be a bit distracting, right? So check out my video on the power lock here on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. Look up Sexual Kung Fu Power Lock, and I teach a practice that pulls the sexual energy out of your genitals, brings it into your lower dantian, your belly center, and that will get rid of your erection. It pulls the energy right out. So you may have to practice a little bit, but super handy. And then you actually harvest that. Your morning erections have this really pure, powerful yang qi in them. And so by holding them within the body, pulling the energy out, storing it in your belly, you capture that powerful qi. So it's a great practice to do. How long of a time do I recommend us to be retaining? It depends. It's going to be different for different people, and also different what your goals are, where you're at on your journey. When you first begin semen retention, if you've been like ejaculating, every day for years, like most men do, then you'll want to try to go for longer periods of time. But once you really build up your chi again, if you want to, ejaculate certain intervals, you like, for most men, once every 2 weeks or once a month is fine, as long as you're healthy. And this can also prevent any stagnance, or any kind of prostate fluid buildup, things like that. So again, it depends on your goals. In the beginning, maybe the first year or two, you want to go for longer periods of time, and also your body will tell you as well. Like, you'll find that most guys have wet dreams at some point on semen retention, and if there's you can only make it 4 or 5 weeks without a, a nocturnal emission, then it's your body kind of trying to tell you like, hey, this needs to be cleared out at this time period, right? So I'm not an extremist about semen retention. I don't think it's healthy for everyone to go super long periods of time, because again, you can run into stagnance of your energy. You can run into prostate stagnance. You can run into basically the atrophy of your endocrine system, because your genitals are your core endocrine glands. If they're not being exercised and used, they're going to dry up, right? So that's why I think semen retention for most guys is best done in cycles. Maybe that's a month or two, something like that. You'll find what's right for your own body. But in general, you should feel good when you're practicing semen retention. If you don't feel good, then something's wrong, basically. What products do I use to clean myself, especially genitalia areas? Soap, just water. I I use soaps, but non-toxic soaps. It's important to understand that most body care products are highly toxic. They're loaded with all kinds of chemicals, all kinds of stuff that will give you, tumors and things like that. You don't want to put these things in your body. So get to know ingredients, get to know, if there's like a bunch of weird chemicals that you can't pronounce, it's probably not good for you. You will only want to put organic, natural things in or on your body. Your skin's the largest organ in your body. You're basically eating whatever you put on your skin. So keep that in mind. I like Dr. Bronner's soap a lot. It's pretty awesome. I also use a lot of products from a company called Arbonne. They do non-toxic like household products like toothpaste and deodorants and things like that. Yes, my 6-week course has lifetime access to it. Advice what to do if they make the V word, the V word that people want to inject into their bodies to prevent something that they're afraid of. You have to be careful what you say with all the censorship going on. Advice what to do if they make these things required and to attend to work or use public transport. It's already being planned in the UK. All I can say is that I'm not putting this in my body. I don't care what kind of threats to our life and our well-being they put on us. I'm not putting this in my body. So I don't know. Get a different job. Put yourself into a situation where you don't need to rely on the matrix. You know what I mean? Maybe move out to the country. I'm thinking of moving outside of the city. My lease at my home runs up in June. So depending how, things are playing out in the world, I might get out of the city. We'll see. But anyways, it really comes down to, you know, in times of political changes and potential medical technological fascism, you know, it comes down to what you think is most important for yourself. And, you may have to make some serious changes to your life to do that. But do you want to have nanobots injected into your bloodstream that are self-replicating, attaching to your central nervous system, shocking, giving you intense electrical shocks if you don't think the right thoughts or make the right actions? This technology has existed for decades and is possibly being rolled out right now. So just, be aware of that. Be very, very careful about what you put in your body, especially if you're kind of being conditioned to do so out of fear or threats to your financial status and otherwise. So yeah, that's that. When I'm about to fart, I feel my testicles or pelvic floor hurt. Is that normal? I don't know. It could be like some congestion in that area. You might want to keep an eye on that. The reason we sleep is in order to connect to our higher mind, right? There's many reasons we sleep. First of all, it's a recharge, right? When we sleep, we surrender to gravity. We surrender to the yin chi of the earth, and it nourishes us. It's like at night, you're exhausted, you're tired from a long day. You lay down in the morning, you wake up, you feel like magically refreshed and energized, right? So it's extremely important because we're so polarized and we're so like, we spend our whole day spending our chi. We're out chasing this, chasing sex, chasing money, staring at a screen, projecting out our energy. It depletes us. And so sleep recharges that, right? So at the most basic level, that's what's happening. But also, like, why are we dreaming and things like this, right? What's the purpose of dreaming? It's like, scientists are always trying to figure out, like, they see things from a very physical, particles bumping into each other kind of viewpoint. So like, well, why do we dream? It just doesn't really make sense. So uh, dreams can be a space. Most dreams for people are just kind of processing things from the day, processing stresses, processing memories. You dream about random things, but you can also, once you kind of have a practice where you're processing this kind of junk dreams, processing this junk information in your body, you'll have higher quality dreams. You'll have more kind of archetypal dreams that are like really powerful. Like the past week, I've been having like just really, really powerful, crazy dreams. You can get into lucid dreaming where you are fully aware and awake in your dream state, and you can control the environment. You can connect to powerful subconscious areas of your mind. Anyways, I'm kind of going off here, but there's a lot of purposes for sleep, and it's important. Who teaches the most esoteric aspects of yoga arenas? Honestly, I'm not sure. I haven't been too into. I mean, I have a yoga practice. It's for me. It's mostly just a physical practice, like stretching my body, loosening up. Oh, and my Instagram. Also, my Instagram feed. Okay, where was I at? Oh yeah, yeah. Honestly, I'm not really sure who's teaching like really esoteric yoga stuff. I'm more into qigong, energy cultivation, internal alchemy meditation. So okay, the course is going to be opening in January, the 6-week course. Make sure you're on my email list and you check it. Make sure you're checking your spam, whatever. Sometimes my emails end up there, and I'll be announcing when the course opens. So follow my social media. You'll know for sure when course registration opens. Let me pull my Instagram feed back up. I should probably be wrapping this up here soon, though. Okay. Hey, Matthew Minnie, what's up? Thanks, brother. Is retrograde ejaculation bad? I mean, it's not necessarily bad. It's retrograde ejaculation is where basically you ejaculate into your bladder. This often happens when you're using the pelvic floor squeezing techniques or the $1 million point where you're pressing in. So it's not necessarily harmful. I don't recommend doing it like regularly, but it's basically the same as an ejaculation because you urinate the fluid out from your bladder. So yeah. Yeah, Zhanzhuan is an important foundation. All the internal arts, really, Tai Chi, Xingyi, especially Bagua. You have to learn to stand before you can move, and it helps you move the Qi. When is the best time to do Qigong? Anytime you have time to do Qigong is great. Kind of traditionally, they say that sunset and sunrise, are the best times to practice, but really anytime you have time is great to do Qigong. I will say though that like the window of time from like 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., it tends to be a bit more difficult to do internal practices. There's just a lot of like disturbances in the chi field, people in the middle of the day, kind of like lunch break. There's a lot of there just tends to be a lot of like negativity projected in the field. And I kind of avoid practicing during this time. But other than that, whenever you can practice is great. Yeah, that's my Jackson butt rock guitar. I love that thing. How to experience lucid dreaming. I recommend checking a book out called Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming by Stephen LaBerge. Phenomenal book. Pretty much has all you need to know to get started with it. I will say, though, for me, the most effective method of inducing a lucid dream is to sleep for 4 to 5 hours. So set like an alarm that wakes me up after 4 to 5 hours of sleeping, because you need a certain amount of consciousness to be able to wake up in your dreams. If you try to do it when you go to bed at night, you're exhausted, your mind's exhausted, and it's just going to go into an unconscious sleep. But if so you sleep for 4 to 5 hours, set an alarm, wake up, you stay awake for a little while. So probably like 20 to 30 minutes is kind of my sweet spot of waking up for a little while. Maybe like read about lucid dreaming, but you have to really set the intention of like, okay, when I fall asleep, I'm going to wake up in my dreams, become lucid. You can actually go directly from being awake, you can go consciously into the dream state, which is one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had. You consciously experience sleep paralysis, and you transition consciously into the dream state, basically into the astral realm. It's really freaking weird. You'll be hallucinating. You'll hear like voices. You'll hear like things banging on your door. It can be kind of frightening, honestly. You'll feel like electricity moving through your body. So if you can get through that without freaking out, you'll consciously emerge in a dream. It's a very bizarre experience, but it's pretty cool. But that's, it can be a bit complicated. So just, again, sleep for 4 to 5 hours, wake up for 20 to 30 minutes, kind of read about lucid dreaming, set your mind on, okay, I'm going to become lucid. And there you are. And then there's techniques like once you are lucid, how to like stay lucid, because it's easy to kind of fall back asleep mentally, how you like manipulate your reality in the astral plane in the dream space. And it's pretty cool stuff. How do you stay in a lucid dream? Being able to keep yourself relaxed and mentally focused, because if you get too excited, you're like, oh, I'm lucid, and then you wake up because you're overexcited. There's a couple techniques I've learned. Rubbing the hands together, it kind of keeps you grounded in your astral body, your energy body, which is pretty trippy. You're like, okay, I feel a body, but this isn't my physical body. So kind of, the out of body experience. So rubbing your hands together helps you ground and focus. Also, I've found that like yelling in the dream state, just like yelling, it helps me stay lucid. Like I'm staying lucid or something, so that can help. Hey Turvy. Yeah, thanks for recommending the books. I've got tons of books on my list to read right now, but yeah, maybe I'll check those out in the future as well. At what time does the body stop producing semen and use that energy to improve the entire body and its functions? Well, as I understand it now, I don't think the body ever actually stops producing semen, but it's really about like what priority the body creates on the semen production. Because what happens is typically after an ejaculation, the body goes into priority is to recreate, make more semen, right? And this actually shuts off certain other processes of the body, like your androgen receptors tend to shut off, kind of shut down, and other things like that. So after an ejaculation, basically for maybe a couple of days, 2 to 3 days. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to close this up now. Once again, I have a free online training next week, Male Sexual Mastery Secrets. You're going to learn how to overcome premature ejaculation, overcome porn addiction, experience non-ejaculatory orgasms, how to live the semen retention lifestyle, and become a master of the sexual arts. So you can sign up for that. There's a link in this video on YouTube, and there's a link in my Instagram bio. So check that out. And all right, guys, take care. I'll see you next time. I'll be going live again, around the same time next week, next Thursday. Take care, guys. Meditate, build your chi, stay balanced, turn off the news. Things are good.